On a recent visit to my local gaming store, I picked up two Marvel Legends figures. I've got here the first appearance of Spider-Man from Amazing Fantasy, and here we've got the retro carded Lizard action figure. And these two figures are likely to be the last two Marvel Legends figures that I ever buy. I want to tell you why I'm done with Marvel Legends, but before we do that, let's take a look at these figures. Stay tuned.
Come with me, toy fans.
Hey toy fans, my name is Tony and welcome back to the Analog Toys YouTube channel. Now, a large proportion of the Marvel Legends collecting community and the broader, I suppose, Hasbro action figure collecting community has been a little upset of late due to the increasing prices. And we're not talking about small price hikes, we're talking about quite large price hikes. Now, here in Australia, we've always kind of drawn the short straw when it comes to action figure collecting, because the prices that any of these figures go for in Australia in a retail store, it does not equate to the exchange rate. I don't know whether Australia has to pay more for shipping, even though we're closer to probably the factories in Asia than what the US is. I don't know. We always have to pay a little bit more. But the way prices have gone very recently with these, with numerous price hikes in the United States, that has extrapolated no end here in Australia. And now the prices of these figures are absolutely ridiculous. I need to get out of collecting Marvel Legends because of the price of these items. First off, let's take Lizard. Now, this, as you can see, price tag $60 Australian. I don't know if you would call this a deluxe figure. Potentially Hasbro are calling this deluxe. I can kind of see it being a deluxe figure, but $60 even for a deluxe figure is quite a pill to swallow. However, this item, which definitely is not a deluxe figure, all right? It comes with 4 pairs of hands, some web wing accessories and a piece of web. This is $68. Here in Australia, this goes for $68, and that is highway robbery, if you ask me. Before I get into the action figures themselves, let's just take a look at the packaging. I'm not a fan of plastic-free packaging, and when you sit these two figures here next to each other, you're crazy if you're going to tell me that Lizard isn't way more displayable as a packaged item than the solid box Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. That retro card back, the clear bubble, you can see all of the accessories. Lizard is the preferred option for a mint in box collector. Now, I'm not a mint in box collector, so I'm going to crack this guy open and take a look. So, it doesn't really affect me. But even still, I still enjoy seeing the figures in the package when I go to the store. I knew everything that I was getting inside this package. When I saw this on the shelf, I could have opened this up and found a potato in there. Who knows? Even though I was really unhappy with the price of this Spider-Man figure, I have wanted to add the perfect comic accurate Spider-Man to my collection for some time. So even though I kind of balked at the price, I had to pull the trigger. I would have much preferred the Spider-Man that comes in the Renew Your Vows 2-pack, but I didn't want to pay all that extra money to get a 2-pack when I didn't want the Spinnerette figure. So this was the next best option. A beautiful, comic accurate, pinless Spider-Man from Amazing Fantasy. And I was very surprised when I also saw Lizard on the shelf, because I know in the United States this is a Walmart exclusive, and a lot of my friends in the States are telling me that they haven't got these figures yet. So I was really surprised to find that this game shop in a remote part of Australia in Port Hedland had this sitting on the shelf. And as much as I would love to add the Mego version of the Lizard figure to my Mego collection so he can go with my Spidey and my Green Goblin, I'm satisfied for now that I've got a Marvel Legends Lizard. And when I brought this figure home, I actually think my cat got a little bit jealous, because not long later she brought in her own Lizard.
What you got there? What is that?
The Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man comes with 4 different pairs of hands. We get fists, we get gripping hands, we get web shooting hands, and we get wall crawling hands. And I love the overall paintwork on this figure. The printing of all the lines in the costume. There are no quality control issues on the figure that I have here. This is really, really nicely done. This is a very sharply done design and paint job. I really, really like the pinless double jointed elbows and knees. We've been wanting pinless on all of our Marvel Legends for a very long time, but particularly figures like Spider-Man. Because when you have a two-tone costume like Spider-Man does with the red and the blue, and then you have pins in the joints, you'll often see on the inside of the elbow, he'll have a red dot there where it should be all blue. But something I was not expecting with the pinless joints on this figure is the fact that the pinless joint actually makes the knees and elbows of this figure much more rigid. The articulation functions exactly the way it should, but it's much harder to bend the leg at an odd angle, which was very easy to do with earlier Marvel Legends figures that had pin joints. What does let this figure down though is the web wing accessories. These clip onto the inside of the bicep. The folded wings don't look too bad, provided Spider-Man is just standing there in a very neutral pose. But the wing accessories that have been provided for when Spider-Man is supposed to have his arms out in a more dynamic pose, they're very frustrating to attach. As soon as you try and articulate the arm in either direction, they want to fall off. I found the whole experience with these things to just be frustrating, and I'm never going to use them. And then we get this sort of quite useless swinging web accessory. I would have much preferred a shooting web type accessory that could be clipped onto the wrist, for example. I really can't ever see me using this swinging web accessory, unless I want Spider-Man to do an impersonation of Leslie Chow.
So long, gay boys!
Overall, this is a really, really nice Spider-Man figure, and all the different hands are very, very welcome. It's just a shame that the rest of the accessories are no good. But at $68, this item is incredibly, incredibly overpriced. Lizard, on the other hand, could very well be one of the best Marvel Legends that I have in my collection. Curt Connors, aka the Lizard, is here in his classic outfit. We've got the ripped up purple trousers, a black undershirt, and the white lab coat. And the addition of alternate heads is a very nice touch. The head that's on this figure when it comes off the card is much closer to like a first appearance of Lizard, which is perfect for me because I'm going to display him with this first appearance of Spider-Man action figure. The second head offered with this Lizard figure is much more expressive, with sharp white teeth and the tongue protruding out. It's a good looking head. I'm actually in two minds as to which way to display this figure. The lab coat has been beautifully sculpted and very, very well designed, with an opening at the back that gives some freedom of movement to the Lizard's tail, which we'll talk about in a moment. The lab coat's also been made of a very soft material, so it does not restrict the articulation of this figure too much. And the articulation here is very, very impressive. Also with pinless double jointed elbows and knees. I like the way the sleeves on the lab coat have been kind of ripped up and torn and have a really nice effect where the forearm protrudes through the sleeve of the coat. We also get a couple of alternate hands here, not as many as what we got with Spider-Man, but straight off the card, the Lizard's left hand is kind of wide open with his right hand just kind of curled up a little bit. And then we get a right fist and a left gripping hand that can be used for holding his lab accessories because he comes with two science beakers. We've got the slightly different shape. You've got one with a red liquid inside, one with a yellow liquid inside. And you can actually get him to hold both of these by using the left gripping hand to hold the neck of one of these containers and holding the other container from underneath with his kind of right-handed splayed open hand. But the overall best feature of this action figure is the bendy wire tail. It can be maneuvered into many, many different positions. But what I like about this the most is that you can get this figure into some really, really dynamic poses, even, kind of half running poses and stuff like that, without the use of a figure stand to hold the figure upright, because you can actually manipulate the tail and use it as kind of a third leg to keep him very stable on a display shelf. This is a classic Spider-Man villain who has been expertly recreated in the 1:12 scale for Hasbro's Marvel Legends. And he does look great displayed next to this Marvel Legend first appearance Spider-Man from Amazing Fantasy. They go really, really well together. But at a combined price of $128 Australian, I've got to tap out. I can't keep buying the stuff at this price. It is insane. To put things into perspective just a little bit, over the last couple of years, the average price for a Marvel Legend here in Australia was $45 Australian. So with Lizard now being 60 and this Spider-Man being 68, and that $68 price tag seems to be the future of Marvel Legends here in Australia. But that's an enormous increase over the original $45 price tag we've been paying the last couple of years. Granted, Lizard may be considered a deluxe figure, but I don't think there's any way in the world you can tell me that this amazing fantasy Spider-Man is a deluxe figure. Not just because he comes with a few accessories and some spare hands. That does not make this figure deluxe. Now, I know there are going to be a select few of you out there who think, ha, bad luck, it's your fault because you don't live in the United States. And if you want to leave a comment like that, why not just stop wasting everyone's time and just announce to the world on the internet that you're an ignorant arsehole? Now, while I'm not brilliant at maths, I was trying to kind of work it out a little bit earlier. And it seems as though here in Australia, the price of a Marvel Legend has gone up by about 38% compared to what they've been costing the last couple of years. To put that into perspective, this financial year, I got a 3.5% pay increase at my day job. And I was actually very lucky. A lot of people only get like a 1.5% pay increase. So a 3.5% pay increase compared to a 38% increase in price for a consumer item that is not an essential. You know, it's a want, it's not a need. Any action figure is a want, not a need. And I just cannot continue to justify to myself collecting modern action figures when they're this price. Yesterday, I purchased on eBay a vintage 1989 carded Batman 8-inch figure from the 1989 movie. An action figure that was only ever available in Australia. And do you know how much this cost me on eBay? $49.99 for a vintage figure from 1989. And that didn't come with plastic-free packaging either. And it's like $18 cheaper than this turkey here. I'm not saying that I'm completely out of Marvel Legends. I'm sure something is going to come along down the pipe that I really, really want, and I may be able to justify it. But unless something happens with the prices, unless they start to claw their way back down, if this is the future, I can't justify it anymore. And everything I'm saying here comes hot on the heels of the new HasLab announcement for the Marvel Legends Engine of Vengeance, which they're selling for the extortionate price of $350. When I watched the Hasbro Pulse live stream today, I was watching the live chat and a lot of people are saying, hey, the Hiss tank was only $300, why is this $350? Well, I do think that potentially that $50 difference is probably the royalty fee that Hasbro have to pay to Marvel to license this item, potentially. But still, even at $300, this item is overpriced. And it's just further proof that modern action figure collecting is just going in this direction. I do feel it's a real shame that Hasbro have priced a collector like myself out of this market. But if these are going to be the last two Marvel Legends action figures that I ever buy and add to my display, I'm not going to complain too much, because at least they are two of the best Marvel Legends figures that I have. A classic hero, a classic villain, expertly done, great articulation. It's almost as though just as Hasbro reached the peak with their design of these figures, they also reached a peak of price that has priced most of us out of the market. It's just so frustrating. I am really excited about the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends 3-pack, but there's no way I'll ever be getting this, because I guarantee you in Australia it'll be close to $200, and I just can't justify that for 3 modern action figures. It was a great run while it lasted, Hasbro. It's just a shame you got greedy. So thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to check out some of our other videos about Marvel Legends, you can click the links over here or subscribe to the channel by clicking down here. I'm Tony from Analog Toys, and I'll see you in the next video.